Graves. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Friday, another casual champion review. It's Graves time. I can't tell if I'm excited or not because Graves is not the most fun character. I got Mastery 5. Actually, hold on. Maybe I go Cull. I'm fighting Kassadin today, so this is going to be a very boring lane, but it's going to be an easy one to commentate over because Kassadin doesn't do anything. It's going to be kind of funny, though. This character is kind of special to me, not in the way of the actual champion, but more because of the meme he's created on this channel of him being a frog from the cinematic where they turned him into a frog. You know what else is special to me? Fan art section, Graves. Look at the Graves. It's just, magnificent. I love the ones with Twisted Fate as well. The Tobias. Twisted Fate's name's actually Felix, I'm pretty sure. We're gonna get into Twisted Fate as well, but thank you for the fan art section, fellas. It's wonderful. Thank you. I love it. I also noticed I'm playing Graves mid. I don't really know why. I'm not doing the classic Tobias Fate Comet Graves. My Cull value was already skyrocketing. I'm not doing the Comet Graves build because it just sounds horrible. I don't know the logistics of how or why that build works. Maybe if I go like 20-2 this game, it will prove that it's bad. Or if I go, like 3-20 this game, it will prove that it's good. Who knows? So Malcolm Graves, because Malcolm is his first name, was raised as a thief in Bilgewater, mostly as just a hired gun. The muscle of the group. He was just in a bunch of gangs and stuff and would travel to distant lands sometimes to Shurima, to just pillage and steal things. But eventually on one of his ventures, I think it was in Mudtown, which is on the Serpent Isles somewhere, he met Twisted Fate. And he could see that they both had the same passion for danger and exploration and thievery that he did. And they teamed up and they became a dynamic duo where Graves was the brawn and Twisted Fate was the brain. But in like a hyper-exaggerated kind of way where like Graves was the muscle and he was just completely dumb and idiot and didn't know anything about plans. And Twisted Fate would really like all these fancy, elaborate schemes and you wouldn't really understand. They weren't on the same page all the time, but they worked out really well and they stole a lot of stuff. Shotgun. So together, Graves and Twisted Fate traveled the world, gambling and swindling their way to a massive fortune, though they wouldn't really accumulate a massive fortune because Twisted Fate would spend it all the moment they got it. That kind of pissed Graves off a bit, but it was fine. As long as there was a next adventure on the horizon, Graves was more about the art of stealing. He loved the practice of doing it in the first place. The actual money wasn't the highest priority for him, though he does like the money. Especially because pretty much every heist they went on was a massive success. They would always get away with it last minute, going everywhere from Noxus to Shurima to Piltover, cracking the supposedly impenetrable Clockwork Vault. But eventually a heist was bound to go wrong and Graves got captured. And Twisted Fate, being the noble and dedicated partner that he is, left him. Just abandoned him right then and there and left Graves to rot in prison for years. And because this Graves, kind of in a parallel to Renekton and Nasus in a way, I guess, grew a bitter hatred for his partner. He wanted to bust out of prison, but not to free himself, but because he wanted revenge on Twisted Fate. And eventually he busted out of prison, stole the guard's shotgun, which I don't understand why the guard had a shotgun. Is that a thing that they do? He found Twisted Fate, reunited with him, but then discovered, maybe we don't need to kill each other because they fought over Gangplank or something. They took part in Burning Tides or whatever. And now they have an uneasy partnership once again. I say partnership like in the terms of like they're gay. Okay, we have full confirmation of it now thanks to Pride Month last year. We got the short story. I'm fairly certain The Boys and Bombolini was the last color story, or short story I should say, that we got outside of Champion color stories before that stopped as well. So the last piece of new written lore we've gotten is about Twisted Fate and Graves kind of bickering over each other and failing to admit to one another that they love each other. Outside of his main bio, actually, Graves has a shockingly high amount of lore. Like, he's been in a bunch of cinematics, he showed up in a ton of color stories, was a pivotal character in Burning Tides, he was in Sentinels of Light, which we'll get to that, and he's had a few color stories of his own, like I said, with the Boys and Bombolini. That story also did confirm that, like, we've kind of talked about Ruination a lot And the weird thing about Ruination is we don't know exactly what about it was canon, because there were so many different versions of the story through Wild Rift or the comics or through the actual in-game client or through the color stories and through the cinematics. And there's all kinds of different variations of the story. But we know for certain, at the very least, that Graves and Vayne were both Sentinels, that Vayne remained a Sentinel Demacia, and that Graves gave it up, or probably Lucian and Senatus didn't trust him with the weapons. I'll say, playing default Graves right now, hearing his voice lines, I really miss the voice lines that Sentinel Graves have, man. It's some of my favorite voice lines in the whole game, just Graves being a goofy little guy, and I love it so much. Oh, Graves moment. But Boys and Bombolini did provide that they are kind of like bitter ex-boyfriends. They can't really admit to each other that they love each other, and I like that dynamic, even if it's kind of a lot of queer people are like, oh, well, we missed out on the actual representation. Why didn't they kiss or whatever? I kind of like the idea that they're kind of uncertain about their relationship. I think it's funny. As from the standpoint of a purely neutral ace person on the sidelines, I think it's a funny dynamic. It's weird. You wouldn't expect a character that's just like, I'm the outlaw with a shotgun, because that's really, character design-wise, is all he is. You wouldn't expect a character like that to have just a ton of lore and be a relevant character in so many different events in League's history. But here we are. Graves is a very staple character to League, even if he isn't in any capacity, I'd say, a fan favorite or a poster child of the game. He's kind of like Ziggs in that way, where Ziggs shows up in a lot of stuff, even though he doesn't really have any kind of narrative importance. It's kind of weird, right? Because usually with these older champions, they're really lacking in a lot of backstory to flesh out their character or different scenarios or events they've been in to help get a proper picture of what their personality is like. But because Graves has had so much, we have a crystal clear idea of who he is and what his motivations are. Sentinel Graves, I think, is the best interpretation of Graves we have, with how goofy and silly he is. Really shows that he is the brawn of the duo, while Twisted Fate is the brains. I wish I had brains right now. Oh, there's a predator in the jungle. In terms of design, though, Graves is pretty iconic to the game, I'd say. I wouldn't say his design is very visually striking. He's got the big shotgun, he's got the big sash and poncho, I think it's called. So, he stands out among the rest of the League roster, but I wouldn't say he's very important. I don't know how to describe it. Like, originally he was designed as the outlaw, like old Western stereotype, the big guy with the big shotgun going around killing people because he thinks it's fun and it's just a menace to society. That was the idea that they had for Graves originally. So to put him into Bilgewater, it was a retcon. Like a lot of champions back in the old day, like Malphite got put in Ishtal, or any of these, a number of champions got retconned to other regions. Same with Twisted Fate. They don't fit in Bilgewater particularly well. Bilgewater has a very established aesthetic. You can say, well, he kind of fits in just because he has the reds and blues, and Bilgewater seems to be mostly that color scheme. But besides a color scheme, if you changed his sash to, like, green, he wouldn't fit in Bilgewater anymore, would he? I don't really like his young design either. I think the young skins that they gave for Burning Tides, the Twisted Fate one, is significantly better, and I actually really like that version over his default version. But young Graves looks even weirder. Like, it looks more piratey, but it's like a comical piratey kind of thing. Maybe that's what they were going for, because Graves is kind of a comedy character, but I'm not sure. The gun looks ridiculous. The big open shirt and the bandana, like, it's all feels like a joke to me. I mean, I think probably the most iconic thing about him, weirdly enough, is his facial hair with the mutton chops, the beard, the hairdo. Glad they kept it for quite a good number of his skins, because I feel like facial hair is a weird thing, and even hairdos in general. I feel like there's a lot of time the hairdo is very inconsequential to the main character design. I think only in champions like Akali is it very obvious that they keep it consistent across all the skins. And I think that's become a bit of a problem with skins lately, is they try to move too far away from what the original champion was, to the point they become unrecognizable. That's why we have the whole same face syndrome argument with, like, all the champions looking like Ashe, or like half the time the male champions all look like Kayn. But I don't really have anything super negative to say about Graves. Like, I think he does his job fine. He just doesn't fit in Bilgewater very well. Again, because he's an old character, was retconned into the region, so I wouldn't expect him to fit into Bilgewater particularly well. The Sentinel Graves animations and voice lines are so great, I would love to see a Graves ASU just for that reason. I'm gonna die here. The only thing I don't like about Sentinel Graves is the sound effects, mainly the shotgun. Like, the shotgun sounds for the base skin, I think, are so much better than Sentinel Graves, but everything else about Sentinel Graves is just, mwah, it's like perfect Graves. Goofball comedy character. I love it. Now, speaking of the shotgun, on gameplay, for the fellows who aren't aware, like the League Zoomers are weren't around back when they did the big class update. I mean, you guys will have known Graves as a jungler for all this time, and it seems kind of off-meta for me to play him in a solo lane. But Graves used to be a traditional bot lane marksman. The whole shotgun mechanic was introduced as part of a mini rework when they did a whole host of mini reworks. Like, they made, what was that? It was when they did Caitlyn and Corki, and Kog'Maw could have 5.0 attack speed normally. They reverted that one because it was broken as hell. And as a Kog'Maw enjoyer, I'm glad they did that. They reverted it because it was really bad. And I think the rework did make Graves feel a lot more thematically appropriate. The shotgun mechanic, well, first of all, it just makes it feel like an actual shotgun. You know, you have to reload it twice. It does more damage when you're close range. Before, it was just a normal auto attack like any other marksman. So it didn't really feel like you were actually wielding a shotgun, whereas now it definitely feels like you have one. So they've turned him into this identity of the more close range marksman where you have to get in close to get a really big blast. And there's a bit of risk reward in that. But also making him a jungler, I think, makes more sense because his whole deal, like Twisted Fate, which I think would be funny if they made Twisted Fate a jungler as well, that I guess mid lane works as like the roaming lane. So I guess that works as well. But you have them going around the map together doing heists. So you could have Graves in the jungle, Twisted Fate in the mid. Like, Twisted Fate's planning things out while Graves is going around beating the shit out of random things as he goes. And they go on heists together and just go over the world. Like, I think that works better as a jungler than he does as a bot lane where he's stuck to some random support that's probably not going to be Twisted Fate. So I know there's a lot of people who miss the old style of Graves with a traditional bot lane marksman. And a lot of people still tried to make it work when the rework first came out. But personally speaking, I really like what they did. I think it's good. Balancing-wise, I think has been Graves' problem for a long time. Most of the time I find Graves is either completely useless or broken beyond belief. Like, he's the best jungler in the game for 4 years running, or he can't do anything. Like right now, like, look, I do no damage, man. I do nothing! Please! You predator! What? Wait, yippee! On topic of skins, I already mentioned it before, Sentinel Graves is the best Graves skin, bar none. He has a lot of kind of shitty skins. He's got with like the Riot Graves and Hired Gun Graves and the Guardians of the Galaxy Graves. Like, there's a bunch of really bad ones. He doesn't have very good. Although I do like Praetorian, but I'm an advocate for Praetorian in general because I think the skin concept is cool. The cool Terminator robots where they remove all the champions' voice lines and replace them with little robot beeps. I really like those. So I guess final closing thoughts. What else would I like to see for Graves in the future? Well, I guess, again, probably like a little mini ASU. I'd like to see some new animations, make him look more Bilgewater-esque, and give him some new voice lines for his face skin so they're not locked behind a $20 paywall. Because in terms of lore, his lore is really rich and really fleshed out, which is unheard of for most of the champions he's gone through so far in this series, but I don't think he needs much more right now. There's a lot of other champions that I think are in desperate need of some lore, and sure, I would like to see some more for all champions all the time, but they did a really good job with Graves. He feels like a fully fleshed out character. Well, you know, I ended the game not as bad as I thought I would. 4-8 is not 3-20 like I thought I'd be, but it seems to be fine. 5-9, baby. Let's get out of here. Well, thank you, fellas, for stopping by this week's Casual Champion Review. Next week, we're not going to do Gwen. We're doing Hwei, okay? We're going to do Hwei because the new champion, and I don't care, I'm skipping a week, okay? I don't want to play Gwen. We're going to play Hwei, okay? Have a good day.